can get you any car you want, but especially any new Ford, new Lincoln, new Toyota, new Mitsubishi. Come see us.
He's a regular Joe. Though in the court's eyes, he's a liar and he's going to jail for more than a decade for it.
And first, gas prices shot up. Now everything else, when you could start seeing some relief at the supermarket.
Bitter cold wind chills and even a little bit of snow. I'm tracking what you can expect for your Friday.
Coming up in sports, they were off and running at the West Texas Relays. We'll tell you all about it at 10.
News West 9 at 10 starts right now.
What was your reason? Wah! Wah! Why weren't you at work yesterday? Wah! Why don't you feel good? Wah! Boo-hoo! Wah! Cry your way to the weak zone.
Hey, did you recognize that guy? I'll give you a hint. He was in that car commercial, Rieger Dykes Auto Group. A hefty prison sentence and millions of dollars in fines. That's the future for a pretty famous West Texas face. Thanks for joining us. Here at 10, I'm Tatum Guinn. Let's get started. The crime, it was very simple, but breaking it down is complicated. We've got Matheson Storrs to give you the rundown coming up here in a few minutes. But first, let's turn our attention to another headline that we're keeping track of tonight. Of course, it's got to be the weather. Hey, after the great weather the past couple of days, we knew, Anthony, it could not last that cold front. It's making its way through the area right now. We just saw temperatures drop.
Yeah, temperatures are dropping really right now. They've dropped almost 10 degrees in just the last hour here in West Texas. Current feel-like temperatures when you incorporate the wind as well. Take a look at this across the state. Look in the Panhandle. 2. It feels like 2 right now in Amarillo. Lubbock's not much better, feeling like 14 degrees. In Midland, Odessa area, feeling like 34. So we're already seeing those temperatures really start to drop. On the other side of that front, you see drastic differences with temperatures in the 60s around San Antonio and Austin. And later on tomorrow morning, we could even see some roadway condition that are a little bit detrimental out there, mainly in southeast New Mexico. Some moderate impacts with some light accumulating snow. Carlsbad, Artesia, Hobbs, and maybe out towards Seminole. Use caution around Midland, Odessa. We are not expecting widespread issues in this area, but we still could see some issues, some slick spots on maybe bridges and overpasses. A little bit of light precip is possible in the morning. I'll talk more about that coming up, but take a look at these temperatures tomorrow. In the morning, could see wind chills near 10, 11 degrees around Midland, Odessa. Going to be a bitter cold start to the day, and it's not going to get all that better. High temperatures only around 37 degrees, and those wind chills stay in the 20s. I'll have more on this very cold Friday coming up in just a bit. Tatum.
Anthony, thanks. We have seen prices go up just about everywhere, from gas to food to many other services. Inflation, it's up nearly 8% from this time a year ago, and that is the highest it has been in 40 years. So what does all of that mean for the Permian Basin? Jonathan Polasek is here to explain. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Tatum. So one thing to know is that while inflation does have an impact all over, just how big that impact is varies. And some people believe that the Permian Basin isn't as affected due to the cyclical nature of the oil and gas industry. Inflation. We hear about it all the time, but what is it exactly?
In my opinion, the definition of inflation is when wages increase, but there's no increase in productivity. The reason that is caused is by expansion of the money supply.
So what does it mean when inflation goes up? Put simply, things get more expensive.
Whenever inflation goes up, the cost for you to survive goes up. Wages have increased, but they have increased slower than the CPI, so we've had negative wage growth, even though wages have increased. More of your money is being absorbed by the cost of living.
The entire country is now feeling the effects, but it doesn't impact every area the same.
I think our area is probably affected the least because we're most used to inflation. Every time we have a boom, we have inflation in rents, cost of food, cost of fuel, so we're used to that. I think there are areas where wages are stagnant across their economy that this affects much more.
The price of food and gas all going up. all over and here in the basin. But how does it get corrected?
Well, high prices will fix inflation because they will destroy demand, and then people will come up with other things to do. Instead of buying brisket, you'll buy Cheerios. And so it has a way of repairing itself, but I do believe that there'll have to be a recession to really get inflation under control.
Now, Cargill went on to say that while it is an issue, it is going to take some time for this to get corrected. He said the best thing to do is go ahead and change your budgets and allocate your money to the proper places for now. Tatum.
It is hard to hear that recession word. Ugh. Now, I know it's already hard enough on our wallets to pay those prices, but it really hurts when you basically have to drive around an area the size of a small state 5 days a week. That is what the West Texas Food Bank does to deliver food to families in need all across the basin. And money, as we know, does not grow on trees for this group. They are a nonprofit, and just like the rest of us, the food bank, they may have to cut back on some things just to keep their deliveries on the road.
The West Texas Food Bank serves 19 counties through a network of over 140 partner agencies, and that means that we do a lot of driving. The area we serve is similar in the size to the state of Maine, so we are serving an entire state out of our distribution center in Odessa, and that racks up to a lot of miles being driven by our trucks. We have a fleet of box trucks, we have 2 18-wheelers, we've got transport vans.
So as we know, last year the average price of gas in Texas was around $3 a gallon, but Stoker says it's concerning where the costs can be headed.
And we've got bills to pay, like electricity in our warehouses and gas to go in our trucks and the food that we're distributing. So when you see the costs going up for the average consumer, it's compounded for us because we're doing things on such a large scale. We're driving so many miles in our trucks. We're feeding and stocking so many pantries that if you see the price of beef going up 20%, it's going up 20% for us too.
And while we're here, we'll remind you that the West Texas Food Bank is always looking for donations and volunteers. We have more information on that and how to get food from the food bank on our website, newswest9.com. And whether you're a big nonprofit in West Texas or just somebody trying to fill up the tank going to and from work, gassing up your car costs a pretty penny right now, y'all, over $4 a gallon. Oh my gosh. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Text us the word gas to 567-9991 and we will send you a link to where you can find the cheapest gas wherever you might live.
As Tatum told you a few minutes ago, the owner of once popular Rieger Dykes Auto Group has been sentenced to 14 years in federal prison for lying to the International Bank of Commerce. Here's what happened. Bart Rieger's company was given a $10 million working capital loan split into 2 payments. Rieger then illegally transferred $1.7 million of that money into his personal bank account, before transferring another $1 million after the second payment. On top of the prison sentence, Rieger must repay that money. On exiting the courthouse today, Rieger praised the judge, but confirmed that he would immediately file an appeal.
I just wanted to say I thought the judge and was very fair, did a good job, and our family's just looking forward to the appeal. I know I'm innocent.
Now, that calm demeanor was much different than the one he often had with his employees, as we saw in videos shown at his sentencing today.
Come on up to the front. Come on up to the Beast Feast. Come on up to the Millionaire Zone. Come on up to the jet flying, private jet owning, gator wearing, Rolex wearing club. Come on up. It's a choice you gotta make. Or you can cry your way to sleep with all the other losers.
The judge decided Rieger was not a flight risk and not a danger to the community, so he will not be required to turn himself in until May 9th. Tatum?
Mason, thanks. The invasion into Ukraine continues, and now Texas is sending over 100 soldiers to Poland. What they're doing to help Ukraine fight back against Russia. And a headache is on a collision course with your commute in Midland. We're breaking that down for you next. The war in Ukraine is now entering a third week, and at Ukraine's border, the endless stream of people hoping to find safety goes on. Tonight, some 2.3 million people have fled Ukraine since the fighting began. That is according to the UN. Those refugees are often crossing into Poland, and that is where Jay Gray is tonight. Let's check in with them. Hi, Jay.
Good evening. We are right up against the line here, the border between Ukraine and Poland. You can see it right here, and you can see people continuing to flood and families coming in waves, escaping the violence in their homeland and moving here to safety in Poland. We want to show you their walk. These are people who have walked, some of them 2 and 3 days just to get to this spot through bitter cold temperatures and snow in some areas. We have families who have just grabbed what they can, some with backpacks only, some with rolling suitcases if they're lucky. And as they walk through, I can tell you that 2 days ago, this was just a walking path in empty fields. None of what you're seeing right now was here, but volunteers began to show up, and we have food trucks, we have tents, food, water, clothing, toiletries, the things that these people need so desperately after making this journey. And so they line this path and take care of anyone who may need anything here, and really just try and do what they can to help those who are really struggling just to get to a spot where they feel like they can feel safe. Now, I want you to see the red tents as well over here. Medics are here. They're here around the clock, so if anyone has any issues, have any problems that they encountered during the trip, they can get some help here. And then as they continue down the path, what most of these people will do is get on a bus. There's obviously no bus schedule for evacuating the country, so the buses just show up when they can. They fill up, go to a train station, and give these refugees, hundreds of thousands who come through this border crossing, the chance to move further into Poland, eventually perhaps into Western Europe. That's the situation on the ground here right now along the Ukraine-Poland border. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you.
Yesterday, Mason told you about the way that people across the Lone Star State are working to help people struggling in Ukraine. And that goes for the men and women of the Texas military, too. Right now, 160 soldiers from Fort Hood are in Poland helping with the fallout from the war. They left their families behind earlier this week. They are part of the 7,000 U.S. military personnel helping support NATO forces. Currently, there are no plans to deploy troops into Ukraine, but these troops will not exactly be fighting. Experts say they are designing military maneuvers and going over tactics.
There's a permanent unit there that has trained in Russian tactics that they have to fight against. But this will be a different war. Before we were fighting against terrorist tactics, this will be conventional, what we call conventional tactics, force on force.
Now, whether we are raising awareness, holding vigils, or sending a little bit of the Lone Star State to Eastern Europe, it's always good to see that Texas is standing with Ukraine in their time of need. Now, another headline that we are tracking across the Lone Star State tonight, an over 2-year-old kidnapping and murder. Today, the killer appeared before a Travis County court. You'll remember the murder of Heidi Broussard in December of 2019. She was found dead in the truck of her friend Megan Muska. She had taken Broussard's 1-month-old daughter Margot Carey for her own. So what's the reason behind the court appearance? Her attorneys claimed that there was not a warrant for the search that uncovered Broussard's body. The lead detective in the case and 2 Texas Rangers took the stand to talk about that day in 2019. Law enforcement say they have extreme concern for the baby inside of the Fiera Muska's home. If the judge determines that the search was illegal, then it could bring into question some of the evidence obtained during that search. That court case is expected to continue tomorrow. Now let's turn our attention to a topic that we have not checked on in at least a week, the Texas border. Today marks 1 year since the Texas National Guard has been stationed at the Texas border with Mexico. Governor Abbott called it Operation Lone Star. Today the governor stopped through Westlaco to talk about the developments the operation has seen over the past year.
Texas law enforcement working together, they have seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in Texas, California, New York, Florida, Illinois combined. It is deadly. And the people stepping up to do something about it are Texans.
Another border topic on the governor's mind tonight, building that wall. We have told you Governor Abbott has already received tens of millions of dollars in donations to building that border, and he's even getting extra materials from an unexpected source.
The cool thing about this, we didn't have to pay a penny for it. This was surplus material that the Trump administration left on the ground that the Biden administration inherited. And because the Biden administration was not using it, we were able to obtain it for free.
What to do about the Texas border has been a recurring topic during the Texas primary process, and it will, of course, sure to be a hot topic of debate for Governor Abbott and his Democratic challenger, Beto O'Rourke, later this year. All right, let's turn now over to the weather. Anthony, the temperatures keep dropping. That cold front's here.
Yeah, dropping like minute by minute at this point, Tatum. And we may be on the verge of spring, but this is going to be a very winter-like cold front. I'll tell you how cold it'll be by morning and what kind of snow chances we have. Everything after the break. Hey, welcome back. The last few days have been really nice here in West Texas. This is a picture from a couple evenings ago. Terlingua Ranch, Larry Everett sent that picture in. Billy Black Kitty in there. Weather picture of the day and clear skies out there in Terlingua. It was like that today as well, really across all of West Texas, but things are changing right now. Current temperatures, you see exactly where that front is located. We're in the 50s Pecos to Fort Stockton, 60s around Dryden and Sanderson, but look on the north side of the front, the cold side of the front, and it's in the 40s right now, Midland and Odessa, and even colder air just to the north, 30s, Andrews and Big Spring, and that cold air is going to really envelop all of West Texas overnight. Low temperatures in the mid-20s, 25, 26. Midland, Odessa, low 20s to the north, upper 20s to low 30s towards Pecos and Fort Stockton, but pretty much everyone's going to be well below freezing. And when you add in this wind, it's going to feel even worse out there. About 20 miles an hour all throughout the night and into tomorrow morning and afternoon as well, about 20, 21, 22 miles an hour, kind of staying right in that range for the next kind of 12 to 18 hours or so. And look at that wind chill. Tomorrow morning, this is March 11th tomorrow. It's still technically winter, but we still don't usually see temperatures this low this late in the season. Wind chill values around 11, 12, 13, Midland, Odessa, and Big Spring. Some areas could even be in the single digits. Bring the pets inside, bring the plants inside, set the heater on. It's going to be a cold start to your Friday. And let's talk about precipitation. Some snow, even a little bit of a wintry mix right here. The little pink areas, very light sleet, freezing rain. Not expecting a whole lot right there by 5 or 6 a.m. Then later in the morning, kind of mid-morning to late morning, a few snow showers making its way into southeast New Mexico. Carlsbad, Hobbs, the Guadalupe Mountains, and Seminole seeing the brunt of that. They kind of dissipate and weaken as they move towards Midland and Odessa. Still could see a few flurries and little snow showers late morning into the early afternoon, but accumulations aren't going to be much at all. Less than an inch of accumulation, Artesia, Carlsbad, Hobbs over to Seminole, and even less as you go towards I-20. A few flurries is really the most likely scenario. Some areas that maybe catch a snow shower could see a dusting of snow, but most areas won't even see that. Here's a look at high temperatures tomorrow. Going to stay in the 30s out across West Texas, so we don't really improve all that much, but we do improve or see improvement over the weekend. Close to 60 on Saturday, close to 70 on Sunday with bright sunshine in West Texas, and temps continue to rise. 72 Monday and Tuesday. Look at that, 82 degrees by Wednesday. Tatum?
Anthony, thanks. Hey, as you're heading out tomorrow for a pretty cold commute, another thing to keep in mind if you're driving through Midland, if you need to get to Wadley from Loop 250, you need to make another plan. Both of the entrance and exit ramps in that area are closed off. Maybe you saw those concrete barriers being set up today. Now, this project is to help the traffic flow onto Highway 191. This is all part of a bigger project that's expected to be done by late next year, so my friends, get used to the road work.
And coming up in sports, we'll take you back out to the West Texas relays. We got that and more on the other side of this break. Good evening, everyone. That was the sweet sound of the starter gun at the 78th West Texas Relays, which showcased District 2 6A schools from all over the Permian Basin. The day kicked off with field events at Ratliff Stadium before the track races got going, and there was a ton of speed on full display. Now, speaking of speed, Permian's Christian Chavez was flying around the track, and he set a new PR in the process. Chavez ran a 4-minute and 26-second 1,600-meter race, which gave him the gold for the event. It's safe to say that Chavez was hyped about his run, and so were his teammates. And Daniel Villegas, he took home the gold in the 200-meter dash with a time of 22.3 seconds. And shout out to the Odessa High ladies who placed first in the 4x400-meter relay. And congrats to all the track and field athletes that competed in this today. And good luck in future meets throughout the season. Now over to college hoops now, and it's officially March Madness time, but before the big dance gets going, teams will have to get through their conference tourney first, and that's what the Texas Tech Red Raiders are up to this evening, and it's all Tech in this one as they enter the second half with a 30-point lead in the Big 12 quarterfinal against Iowa State. Now Tech was given the number 3 seed, and they're ranked the number 14th team in the country. To the NFL now, a young woman has filed a lawsuit against Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, alleging she is his daughter. The lawsuit claims Jones paid both the now 25-year-old and her mother hundreds of thousands of dollars in exchange for keeping his paternity secret. She says that confidentiality agreement was made by her mother without her consent, and she wants to be released from it. Now, Jones and his attorney have declined to comment. The new NFL league year officially begins on March 16th, but on March 31st, a hearing will be held on whether the court records will remain sealed to the public. That's it for sports. Don't go anywhere, though. We'll be right back.
We couldn't let you go tonight without touching on one of the most viral stories of the month. 2 years ago, it was the murder hornets from Asia. Last year, it was cicadas from under the ground. And this year, no joke, parachuting spiders from Japan. Yes, this is the Joro spider. A group of Georgia scientists say the 8-legged visitors could soon be invading the East Coast. They've been known to use their long silk threads to travel on wind gusts, and they grow as wide as your palm. Luckily, scientists say Joro spiders are pretty timid, but with their imposing webs and bright yellow, blue, red coloring, they are giving the internet a serious case of arachnophobia. Question, Anthony, are you afraid of spiders?
I wouldn't say necessarily, but as wide as your palm, I would be afraid of that spider, definitely. So hopefully they don't go across our wind gusts in West Texas tonight, because it is going to be windy out there. Temperatures down into, or wind chills down into the teens and single digits by morning. Those wind speeds around 20 to 25 miles an hour. It's going to be seriously cold out there. And again, we're not expecting a ton of road condition problems tomorrow morning, but still be careful. Take it a little bit slower just in case, and especially on those bridges and overpasses. Could see a few slick spots on those roads. So not going to be terrible out there. And then we're going to see a big rebound of those temperatures after highs are only in the 30s tomorrow. The weekend looks great, and maybe golfing weather by Sunday.
Hey, tea time.
Yeah.
Set it up
There's
for
still
Sunday.
time.
There we go.
Still time for it. Okay, that's all the time we have here at 10. We'll see y'all tomorrow.